The views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the policy or position of ONTV's management, staff, or board of directors.
Detroit basketball!
And hello and welcome into Views from the Sideline. I'm your host, Joey Tysick, my partner, Malik Hill. It's February 17th, and it is snowy and cold, and we just got over Valentine's Day. So it's been a little bit crazy lately, of course, as sports are also getting crazy. Today we're going to talk about some college hoops, hopefully getting closer and closer to the tournament. We're going to talk a little bit about the NBA and stuff like that, and then maybe we'll finish off if we have a little bit of time. We'll talk about some NFL topics. But I did want to throw out one NFL topic to see if Malik was excited about it. Malik, the Jaguars are returning to their teal uniforms at home this year. Are you excited?
It depends on the design.
Trevor and teal.
The last few designs, this last one is really basic.
Mm-hmm.
The one before that was so extra.
Yeah.
The helmet that was like half turquoise, half black, with gold mixed in. It was weird.
Yep.
Although those Thursday night gold uniforms they used to wear, I love them for some reason. I was a big fan of those.
Yeah.
But I wish they just go back to the old like late 90s, early 2000s concept. But like just slightly updated.
Mm-hmm.
Like go back to those numbers. Just everybody should be classic.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me when people want to go. I understand creativity and stuff, but you can never go wrong with a classic look.
Yeah, it basically looks like they're going back to their uniforms from a couple of years ago. They posted on their Twitter page, but it's nothing special. It's just like the teal jersey, probably white pants, black helmet, a little bit of every color. I saw that on Twitter. Thought it was kind of funny. They're trying to get some energy as Trevor Lawrence is most likely going to be drafted to them. So kind of funny. Anyway, Michigan basketball is back after 3 weeks of not playing a single game, and they got to go up against Wisconsin.
And not practicing either.
Yeah.
Doing nothing.
Doing literally nothing,
Except,
basically.
like trying to work out when they can.
Right. And they came back and beat Wisconsin. Impressively, too. I mean, it wasn't like a blowout or anything, but they had to fight in that game. Isaiah Livers looked really good. Hunter Dickinson was right back to, where he left off. The whole team.
15 huge rebounds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't know. This Michigan team, I'm scared to get too hyped about them. Because like I said last week, I feel like Michigan usually does better in the tournament when they're the underdogs. And right now they're just steamrolling. They're playing really good. They're playing as a team. That's the only thing that makes me nervous, but I like watching this team a lot.
Well, the first time they got to a national championship with Beeline in 2013, I think they came in as a 3 seed, but people still didn't think they'd make a deep run, and then they did it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this team is I'm so afraid to say it, but this team is special.
Yeah.
I haven't seen I've never seen a Michigan basketball team that was this well rounded.
Mm-hmm.
Beeline teams were always good for like at least 70 points. They would usually score high, and the defense wouldn't be that effective because the type of players he recruited weren't like crazy athletic and weren't like they were guys you had to build on them over years for them to be really good players.
Right.
So the defense was never that high, but the offense was at a high level. And like you said, when they were underdogs, they always rose to the occasion in the Big Ten tournament and the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
But this team, coming back from that hiatus, and they were rusty in the first half, which I wasn't surprised. Isaiah Liver was the only person that had it going. Down by 14 going into the second half. And then they just sat down and played defense.
Mm-hmm.
They went on, I think it was like a 40-20 run in
Yeah.
the second half. Wisconsin could never get into a rhythm. Michigan just fought back. And once they took the lead, Wisconsin couldn't do anything to get it back. It was really, really impressive.
Yeah.
Really impressive.
Mm-hmm. And now basically they play Rutgers tomorrow. That's
Yeah.
tomorrow. And then they have Ohio State, which will be a big game for them. And then Indiana. And then March 1st is Michigan State. So their schedule is pretty favorable, except for Ohio State, obviously. That'll be a big one. That'll be kind of a good preview of going into the Big Ten tournament. Basically, the top two teams in the Big Ten, Ohio State and Michigan. So that's kind of their big test to end this season. And if they win that game, they're going to finish the season, what would it be? I think 18-1, which would be incredible. They're already almost locked into a 1 seed at this point, just because it's really hard for them to lose at this point.
Everybody has them pretty much unanimously as the third best team.
Yeah, and so that game against Ohio State will be big in that regard as to what region they'll be in as far as the tournament goes. But it looks like both Ohio State and Michigan, barring any big setback, should both be 1 seeds. I guess Illinois could have something to say about it too. But regardless, Michigan controls their destiny at this point. What do you see about this Ohio State game? I know it's a little bit a ways, but how do you see this game playing out?
Honestly, I'm honest. I'm not sure how to feel about it because I still think they're going to have some. I don't think they're going to go back to just being the dominant team they were, like within 2 or 3 games.
Yeah.
I think there's still going to be moments of rust, but they have so much chemistry and they play so well together on offense and defense
Mm-hmm.
that even when they have those stretches of rustiness, they figure it. Once they figure it out, they've got it, and it doesn't take much. Like Isaiah Livers, whether he gets it going from 3, or Franz like starts driving to the basket, getting to the free throw line. Hunter Dickinson starts getting it going in the post. Mike Smith will hit a 3. Eli Brooks will hit 3s. Like there's so many ways they can go and so many options of where they could go on offense and defense. They can switch guys at almost every position, except for like Mike Smith because he's like pretty small and not that great of a defender, but he plays hard.
Right. Yeah, and then
But there's only mismatches at. There honestly isn't many mismatches. Dwayne Washington is a mismatch at the 2. He's gonna take advantage of Eli Brooks and Mike Smith whenever they get switched.
Mhm.
So they'll probably throw Franz and Isaiah on him. Dwayne Washington and EJ Liddell are the 2. They're the stars of that team. They make everything go. Dwayne is the guy on the outside that can knock you out with 3s, and EJ Liddell can hit 3s too. But I love his game, honestly. He's a 6'6", like. He's one of the toughest players in the Big Ten and in the country, like bar none.
yeah,
He can dominate in the post, and he can come out and hit a 3 if he like when he gets hot. So yeah, holding them 2 down is going to be really difficult because most teams haven't been able to do it, and they've got some good shooters around them too. So it's a toss up to me.
yeah,
Like I honestly think defense will kind of be somewhat thrown out the window in that one because
Mhm.
there's so many like skilled high level players going at it against each other that those guys are going to get going at some point. And once they get going, they're just going to keep going back and forth.
yeah,
And it could end in like the 70s. It could possibly get into the 80s. But I think it should be close.
yeah. And I mean, in this game, just looking at the ESPN like prediction thing, Ohio State's favored 52% to 48%, so it's that close. It's basically just home court advantage at that point. The good thing I think for Michigan is that Ohio State seems to just play a lot of teams close. Like they don't really blow anybody out. And we've seen from Michigan that they can kind of get to a point where they just blow people out. So I think, if Michigan is able to just hang in for a while and get that run at some point, I think they should be favored just because of that factor. It seems like Ohio State has a hard time of just making big runs, I guess. but they know how to finish games, so that's also a little bit spooky. But it's going to be a good game nonetheless, and that's on Sunday at 1:00. So I'll be watching. It's gonna be good.
Probably the biggest game left of the season, if we're being honest. Besides, there are going to be games that determine whether teams have a tournament chance. Yeah, but this matchup, besides it being Michigan Ohio State, yeah, just how good these two teams are coming up against each other.
Yeah,
it's a heavyweight match.
Yeah,
I don't think there are many left in this season.
Yeah, because Illinois is right behind those guys. But let me check their schedule really fast.
Have you seen how much Illinois has been talking smack to Michigan fans?
Mm-mm.
And like people on Twitter, including like the Illinois basketball page, they keep sending stuff like, "We know y'all are scared, you're not prepared," and all types of stuff like that. Like it's weird. All of a sudden they have this confidence now that they're really good. Like Michigan isn't the best team in the Big Ten, but I digress on that one.
Oh, so I guess the rest of Illinois' schedule is up in the air. Also, to be determined.
Yeah,
they're playing Michigan State next Tuesday.
There's also a chance they might add a few games to Michigan's schedule, so who knows?
Yeah,
because they were supposed to play Illinois
right
in the year, then it got canceled,
which would have been pretty big as well.
Yeah.
As Michigan, Illinois, and Ohio State are all in the top 10. I mean, they're all in the top 5 of the rankings right now. Iowa is sitting back there at 11. Wisconsin's still hanging on there at 21, but then you got Purdue, Rutgers,
Purdue right
Indiana, like all those teams trying to make it into the tournament. Most likely will. Minnesota's where the edge starts to be. I think Minnesota at the moment is first 4 in.
I think they're better than Indiana,
but they're close.
They should have a better chance than Indiana because Indiana's kind of like average.
Yeah, Indiana, Minnesota's kind of like right around where the bubble starts to hit. And then we got our friends from Michigan State down near the bottom. They're 4-9 in the conference. Their last win was against Penn State, who is below them, and they only beat Penn State by 2 points.
Penn State just lost to Nebraska at home.
Yeah, and those are all the bottom feeders of the Big Ten. Michigan State's just been an anomaly this year. We've talked about it in length, kind of off the podcast, but we have a feeling that it's a mix of things. Obviously, they just can't get anything going offensively. They're just, I don't know, they look rattled in every sense offensively. Part of it obviously has to go to the players, but there's a part where it seems like Izzo is, he's struggling this year, and I don't know what it is. I don't know why he's, messing with the lineup so many times.
He looks like the game is kind of passing him by, and it may not be like that. May not be true yet,
right?
But he's unbelievably stubborn this year.
Mm-hmm.
Like he won't set a lineup. He prefers playing Foster Loyer and AJ Hoggard when they don't give him anything on offense. Like it's just like question marks all over the place.
Yeah.
MSU fans are just as confused because I saw a post yesterday during the Purdue game yesterday. Somebody posted a tweet that said, "This is the lineup that works: Rocket Watts, Aaron Henry, Langford, Hauser, and Sissoko."
Mm.
And everybody seemed to agree. Like, yeah, that makes sense. Like,
yeah,
it's like the offense, the defense, it all works. But I don't think I've seen that lineup in the game.
No.
Like the lineup that makes the most sense, just he won't put it out there.
Yeah, and part of it, I understand, like, as much as they've been struggling offensively, I understand, trying to change the lineup, trying to figure something out. Maybe somebody will, like, light a fire under the team. Who knows? But there's also a point where if you keep mixing up the lineups, you're never going to get anything consistent. So, like, there's this fine line that you have to draw of, like, okay, do I believe that these guys are the best option? Like you're saying, if we go with that lineup, they're the best potential outcome and just stick with that. But instead, it seems like Izzo is just trying to keep figuring out what's working and none of it's working. So at that point, you got to pick a lineup and just stick with it and not keep trying to change it.
It makes sense.
Even if it's not the lineup that we're talking about, that we theoretically think is the best, just pick a lineup and stick with it, because at this point, we're so late in the season, you need a lineup that's going to be at least a lineup that at least they know the coach trusts them, because then it's like, okay, we're the starters. We're going to be the starters going into the tournament. That's what's going to happen. Now, my hope, because I've seen this in the past, and I can't remember what season it was, but there was also a time where Izzo, when he got to the Big Ten tournament, finally said, hey, this is our lineup. We're sticking with this, and this is what we're going to go through with the tournament. I wish I could remember when that was, but I'm pretty sure there was a tournament where Izzo had said, they've been struggling this year, and he picked a lineup and went with it, and they went from the Big Ten tournament into the NCAA tournament with that lineup. So maybe there's a chance. The problem is, it's so late in the season, Michigan State has to make a miracle run to even make the tournament. First of all, they have to play they have to play Illinois, Ohio State, and Michigan to end the season. Those are the best teams in the country, let alone the Big Ten. So you have to win those games. They have 5 games left on their season as it sits right now. So they'd have to go 5-0, beat those 3 best teams, and that would put them at 9-9 in the conference, which still, it's good enough, and it might give them an okay seeding in the Big Ten tournament. But I don't know if that necessarily gets them into the NCAA tournament.
That might get them a play-in game.
Right. It would get them close.
Or a 9-10 seed, just because the committee would probably have some pull. They'd be like, let's get State in there just because they're a staple. They're a brand that's always here, and we would like to always have them here.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they'd have to do the impossible.
And that'd be 3 really big wins to end the season. And I can't see that happening. I don't see where it's going to come from unless somebody just goes crazy. But
somebody can't go crazy if you don't give them the opportunity to.
Yeah. So, again, like we said, we might be at an NCAA tournament without Duke, without Kentucky, without Michigan State.
UNC is going to be like a 7 or 8 seed.
North Carolina's on the cusp.
Yeah, they're good enough to get in.
Yeah. I think they're sitting at the first 4 in at the moment. I think it's Stanford, North Carolina, Drake, and maybe Boise State or something. I can't remember. I looked at it this morning, but the bracketology has so many different stats and things. Can't remember exactly, but those are around about the teams that are kind of on the bubble. So yeah, it's gonna be a nightmare for Michigan State, to be honest.
This offseason, there are so many questions to be answered, and I don't think Izzo can fully answer all of them.
Yeah,
he's just it's gonna be rough.
Yeah, and
it's gonna be really rough.
I hate to compare it to the football team, but I'm gonna compare it to the football.
A lot of people are doing that, and some people are saying that's way too dramatic.
Yeah,
but yeah, go on with that one? How do you feel about that?
I feel like it is a bit dramatic, but at the same time, you have to treat it somewhat similar, because it's a very similar situation where it's D'Antonio was, you could tell that he was starting to struggle, and he was being very stubborn with his staff, and it just seemed like it was time. It's hard to let go of somebody that's brought this program so far, and Izzo has brought tremendous success.
He's made Michigan State a blue blood in basketball.
Exactly. And so it's even more so than D'Antonio with the football team. So I can understand really holding on to that, but you have to look at it very critically and think, Izzo's doing very similar things where he's getting very stubborn. He's kind of been struggling a little bit, and he's had talent in the last few years, but it seems like he just can't get back. For a while, Michigan State was that Final Four all the time kind of team. And they've been struggling in these tournaments as of recently. And I don't know. I don't think it's time to give up on Izzo, obviously, but I think it's time to just at least start looking more seriously at another option, potentially.
Yeah, I honestly think once that Jaren Jackson and Miles Bridges team, when they got beat by Syracuse in the first round, that's when I thought MSU fans were going to be like, okay, this isn't going in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't. Even though they still made that run and they beat Duke a few years ago and all that.
Yeah.
I think that loss right there with the 5-star insane talent Jaren Jackson was, Miles Bridges being misused, young Cassius Winston, there were so many pieces for them that was a national championship team.
Yeah.
They only lost like 3 games going into the tournament that year, and a zone,
Yeah.
just a regular 2-3 zone, just completely broke apart everything they did.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, that same zone.
Jinbei, he's one of the masters of the 2-3 zone.
Yeah.
But when you're that much better of a team, you're like a 2 seed,
Yeah.
almost a 1 seed. It's no excuse.
But you got to think too. What was it? It was just 2 years ago, because last year we didn't have a tournament, of course. Texas Tech ran through a lot of people using interesting zone defenses. So I mean, it throws teams off guard. But Syracuse, like that's what Jim Boeheim is known for. So like, yeah, I remember specifically picking Syracuse in that tournament, just for that reason. But yeah, it's kind of disappointing. It's hard to see, because I love having, of course, the local teams in it. I have family that roots for both sides, so I love getting in the middle of it and, rustling up some feathers. But I don't know. I just can't see the miracle happening for Michigan State to make it back into the tournament, but it's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, I think even more than I think it was too simple when I said that one loss was the sign of things. Him not transitioning into a new era of coaching and like recruiting, I think is what's caught up to him.
Yeah.
Coach K caught he caught what was coming in like 2014.
Yeah.
And he swiftly went after, well, it started with like Kyrie Irving and them, but Jabari Parker, Jason Tatum, Brandon Ingram, recruit after recruit after recruit, just let them go out there and play their games. He won a national championship with Jahlil Okafor. Did he get back to one? Well, he got to the Final Four with Zion and RJ Barrett and Cam Reddish. You have to adjust to the times and not just stick to what always worked. Yeah, you're always going to be in contention for a Big Ten title. You'll probably win one every other year. You're the Final Four darling. Like people always expect you to go that deep, but it was the same thing with Coach K. He had a certain thing. Coach K hated what Calipari used to do.
Yeah.
He was one of the main people that used to hate on Calipari for, oh, you just get all these 5 stars, these one and dones, and then you ship them off. What is that?
Yeah.
2 or 3 years later, Coach K is doing it.
Right.
And it's working for him now, even though they have a rough year now, but he has a championship and some Final Four runs off of that system.
Yeah.
You got to change up at some point.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And it's the reason why the guy on the other side at the other school, Juwan Howard, is doing so well.
Yeah. And now, to be fair, because I don't think that Izzo's going to go anywhere necessarily anytime soon.
They're not firing him. He's just going to retire at some point.
I think the really interesting one will be, as long as, obviously he has to stick to it, but Imani Bates. That will be the key year, I think.
Well, there was the breaking news, we didn't bring it up, the 5-star center that committed to them for the 2022 class. He decommitted last week.
Yeah.
MSU, that's the one thing MSU fans were starting to look like, oh, this isn't good.
Right.
Like, these kids see what happens when high-level talent comes to Michigan State. They're not used right, or they end up being 4-year guys that you come in one thing, 4 years later, you're not going to the NBA and you're a completely different thing.
Yeah. And we've already seen Imani Bates just, in high school getting a little bit emotional. So like, will him and Izzo butt heads if he stays committed? That's
the thing.
Yeah. So I think that's going to be a really big key with that whole program. To be honest.
How stubborn can Tom Izzo become?
Yeah.
I think that's a question for the next few years.
Yeah.
Because if you get Imani Bates,
and he stays committed, and Izzo wants to, still run his show,
yeah.
That one will be interesting. Okay. So again, it's going to be a weird tournament, but I like it because they're not going to have those like stud teams that we're used to. I hate Duke. I hate Kentucky. I don't want to see them. So not having them in the tournament, it's like bittersweet because you want to see them in there because they're that team, and I like seeing them be upset as well. But they do bring like fun teams. Like watching Zion in the tournament was really cool. So it's like a give take there. This year is not as much. I mean, Gonzaga's there every year, but they can never get it completely done.
They're one of the brand new. They're not considered a blue blood yet,
Yeah.
but they're on that level.
Yeah.
And Baylor has low key been ridiculously impressive for years,
Mm-hmm.
but they just haven't made that run.
Yeah.
For people to take notice.
Yeah. Now we see at the standings there is Virginia. They're sit at 7, but they're still not the same Virginia team that we've seen in the past.
They're not scary like the Kyle Guy, Ty Jerome, DeAndre Hunter teams.
Right. Team like Villanova, they're also not, they're not the crazy.
Yeah, they're sneaky, like really good.
Right. So, there's some teams that have been there before from programs, but they're not as scary as normally there are, or as they are. But then you look, we got teams like Oklahoma. They're back into the mix. Haven't seen Oklahoma be anywhere decent since Blake Griffin.
Well, the Buddy Hield years.
Oh yeah, okay,
Yeah.
Fair enough.
They were pretty good those years.
Yeah. We got our good friends from Loyola Chicago back.
Oh.
They're in the top 25.
Oh man, listen.
In the top 25.
How good does it feel to be back, Joey?
It's pretty great. I'm not gonna lie. Chris, I'm sure, is just jumping for joy.
It's so good. Same starting center
Mhm.
from the year they made the tournament.
Yeah, and I didn't even know
Yeah,
that when
Krutwig was a freshman that year. He's a senior now.
and he's
Time flies, man.
he's a good player. I mean, he's just a big dude, and he's kind of like out of his era. Like
No-
he needed to be like previous in a previous era. He would have been a
Love
stud.
him so much. No athleticism.
Mhm.
He's just 6'9", 260,
Yeah,
and when you give him the ball, he just
Mhm.
scores.
yeah. He's just got
He just-
great
he
touch
just-
around the rim, and he's fun to watch.
Braden Norris at point guard, former Oakland point guard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're one of those teams. They're smaller school, lots of seniors. Those are the type of teams I always say every year you got to watch out for in the tournament, especially in a bubble year. So Loyola Chicago, I don't think they're going to make as big of a run as they did last time, but they're a team to watch out for.
They can knock a few teams out.
Yeah, and then Malik's team, San Diego State, they're hanging on. They're
Listen,
hanging on.
When you lose all that juice you had after that magical season last year, they brought back one key guy,
Yeah,
and he's playing really well. But
and not
Come
being
on.
able to run in the tournament last year.
your point guard goes to Toronto, well Tampa, the Tampa Raptors.
Mm-hmm.
He's gone. One of I forgot who the other player was. They had another really good guy too. But yeah, they're still a good team, but they're not special.
Yeah, and then there's some other teams that aren't in the top 25 yet, but like we talked about, Oklahoma State's kind of a scary team if they're in the tournament. If they're in the tournament, they can be scary.
My scary team is Texas Tech, because first of all, my boy Mac McClung, man,
That was a good transfer.
leading the Big 12 in scoring.
Good transfer for him.
He went to West Virginia. They're notorious for their defense. Put 33 on them.
Yeah.
Was one shot away from winning it, but yeah,
Mhm.
they're still ranked. They've missed a few games because of COVID protocols.
Yeah.
But yeah, once they get into the thick of things, yeah, once Matt gets going, it's hard to stop him. And they got some players around him that can, get hot too.
Right. And then some other little teams that I like to look at are honestly like I know they were hot a couple years ago, or 2 years ago. Utah State
Well, last year they
last year too. Yeah. It's
I
hard
guess.
because
I guess.
comparing
Yeah.
everything to like last year and stuff, it all just seems like a blur. But Utah State, I like the way that
They've
they
been
play.
like top 3 in the Mountain West for like the past 3 or 4
Yeah,
seasons.
I like that the way they play. A team that I'm trying to do some more research on that I noticed is jumped up a lot is UC Santa Barbara. I'm curious about them. I'm curious about them.
all those UC, Santa Cruz, Santa Barbara. I just love the names of those
Yeah.
schools.
And then they just
Yeah.
throw Hawaii in there, in their conference. But yeah, so that's college basketball at the moment. Hopefully, we'll start talking more and more about the tournament as we keep getting closer.
We'll do some Player of the Year talk soon.
Yeah,
Because I honestly think A.L. DeSumo from Illinois could beat out Luka at Iowa.
yeah,
Iowa's having a ridiculous season.
hmm
Like 22, 6, and 5
yeah,
on 50% shooting, like crazy.
right. Yeah, I mean, again, just the Big Ten in general has so many stud players and teams and stuff. So we'll get into more college talk especially as we're getting closer to the tournament, and then of course we're gonna try to do our full tournament breakdown episodes again. Hopefully bring in some guests or something. We'll probably have to do it via Zoom, so we might be able to get a whole cluster of people, which would be fun.
It's going to be a weird one because all the brackets are in the same place.
Yeah,
The Southern region,
yeah,
Midwest region.
we're all in Indianapolis.
I wonder if they're going to just break it down to like bracket 1,
It could,
bracket 2,
it could be, to be honest. Region 1, Region 2.
South Indy, North Indy.
So we'll see. As long as we're having a tournament, though, it's going to be exciting. We'll have plenty to talk about. So let's swap over to the NBA now. There's a few things player related as they're getting closer to the trade deadline and things like that, and teams trying to make moves. And
2 guys sitting out.
a former Piston and a actual Piston at the moment, both sitting out because the team wants to try to trade them. First one being the Cavaliers, since they traded for Jared Allen and they have 1,500 centers, they decided they're going to sit Andre Drummond until they find a suitor for a trade, which they also realize, Andre Drummond can't be your staple to your team.
What? It's a situation.
He can't be the best player on your team.
True. But
Not that he's necessarily the best player on his team, but he's pretty much the second best player on that Cavs team.
He's played so well for them.
Yeah.
But the team just isn't good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They've improved. I mean, Colin Sexton and Darius Garland have played well. Kevin Love is still on the mend.
Even Larry Nance has played really well
Mm-hmm.
in the time he's gotten.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're a young team. They're trying to get better. And they just traded for Jared Allen, who's, I mean,
Obviously their guy.
I would say he's better than Drummond because he can do a little bit more. But Drummond just fills the stat sheet, which is hard to ignore for a lot of people.
I wouldn't say Allen isn't better than Drummond yet.
Yeah. I think
Give it a few more years maybe, because that 15 rebounds a game, you can't take that for granted.
Yeah.
Even though it didn't lead to much because he was on bad teams and bad organizations.
Yeah. So I'm really curious where Andre Drummond is going to go now, because as we're seeing, like, he's just kind of getting, out of the mix of the NBA, the way that the game is evolving. Like his game doesn't necessarily translate to it. And
Well, since he's still a really good athlete, and he still can play in the pick and roll and catch lobs and stuff,
Mhm.
and the rebounding, although his defense is still like kind of average,
yeah,
but there's still a room for him.
yeah,
He's better than Dwight Howard right now,
right,
and Dwight Howard still has a role
Mhm.
on really good teams.
right. He has a role, but he's just not that integral piece that so many people thought that he could be at some point. That's just the way the game's going. It's not necessarily his fault. It's just kind of how the game has evolved.
At least he didn't like fall off the cliff like Greg Monroe when the game changed in 2 years and he was gone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Guys like him and Roy Hibbert,
Yeah.
extinct.
So the one rumor that I heard, which I don't even know how credible it is the one thing I heard. It was the Raptors, which would be really interesting. It would give them kind of that big man to pair alongside Siakam.
They've snuck back to the 7th seed
Mm-hmm.
without anybody paying attention.
Yeah, I noticed that today when I was looking around. So
He would help them a lot.
So the Raptors trying to get back on track and being one of those top teams in the East again. Andre Drummond could do something for them. I don't know what that trade package would look like because
Yeah, who do you give up?
like the Raptors have so many like young pieces that they keep wanting to
They need them.
stick to. Yeah, I'm unsure of how that would work.
Do
But
you give up Anunoby? I'm asking
know.
you these questions. You
Yeah.
don't give up Anunoby, do you?
I don't think so. He plays a lot of minutes for them, and he's not necessarily like a key piece per se, but he just does a lot of the little things. It seems like he can score some nights, but he also gets rebounds, assists, steals. Like he just does a little bit of everything, which you need one of those glue guys. So I don't know if I would give him up.
You trade Norman Powell plus future picks plus they would have to give up Chris Boucher,
Yeah,
who's been one of the most promising young players this season.
but the Cavs want another center. Like it'd have to be.
Yeah.
I think it'd have to be a
Yeah.
3-team trade or something.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Giving up Boucher and it would have to be like Boucher, Norman Powell.
You have to throw picks.
Maybe in picks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe them two in picks.
Yeah. That one would be interesting. I don't think I'd give up OG Anunoby, but the other one I might do, depending on how it turns out. And then for the actual Pistons, Blake Griffin.
The ghost of Blake Griffin.
His time is officially ending. Blake Griffin sitting out for the Pistons until a trade develops, or worst case scenario, they buy him out. Because apparently it looks like his trade value is less to nothing.
Depleted.
Which is exactly what we were afraid of because he had been playing so good and his trade value was still high for a contender. This year he's fallen flat. And so he has almost no trade value because he has a terrible, terrible contract.
He hasn't dunked this season.
He hasn't dunked since 2019, I think it was.
I thought he got a few last year.
I'm pretty sure Chris informed us that it was 2019 was the last time that Blake Griffin dunked.
It was probably during the regular season.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But they canceled the season, so, yeah.
So, I don't know. It's pretty spooky because if we just let Blake go and buy out his contract, we're just going to be sitting on his money, and we're not getting anything for it. Yeah. It's not necessarily a Josh Smith scenario, but it's not good for the future.
They waited too long.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so now, if we don't get anything for Blake, it's going to set us back, actually, again.
We were all way too optimistic when they made that Blake trade.
I don't know.
We hoped for the best, and we were like, we'll see what happens. But we should have been like, this set the franchise back like some more years.
Well, I think we realized that, but Blake having that career year in 2018-19.
That year he was like phenomenal that year.
He was like his best that he's been. And so we at least were like, okay, well, at least that trade wasn't for nothing, that he's helping this team. Maybe they'll figure something out. They never did, which I never thought they necessarily would. But then last year, he still was okay, but he started getting hurt. That's where it starts to get scary, is because you can hang on too long and then he's worth nothing because of his contract. He may have had a career year 2 years ago, but now it's like, how long do you risk that? And it seems like they've risked it too far. And now they may get nothing for it. Which at the beginning of the season, I was super optimistic that, okay, we can trade Derrick Rose. We can get something for it. We did. We did all right. And then Blake Griffin, we get some more stuff from a team that's trying to contend. And it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Now, the Lakers are obviously eyeing him because they're thinking, the Pistons are going to buy him out, and then we can just pick him up off waivers for cheap and be good. So, I don't know. It's pretty spooky. It stinks. The only thing I can think of is if the Pistons decide to pair him with a bunch of stuff, which is possible. I mean, they have some assets. I think a player like Wayne Ellington is another player that, a contender would want. So if you pair Blake and Wayne Ellington with I know you wouldn't want me to say this, but Svi.
But what team is like taking to an old shooter and like two shooters?
Right.
That's a weird package. I honestly thought Svi too, but then I was immediately like, that doesn't really fit.
Yeah.
I can imagine Blake, Wayne Ellington, and then what other player would it be?
Yeah, and I guess I would have thought of the Sixers, but now that I think of the Sixers, they added Danny Green and Seth Curry, so they kind of fixed that issue. No, that wouldn't work either. I was going to say maybe the Milwaukee Bucks. They could run a small ball lineup with Giannis at the 5 or something with Blake. And then
that would be an interesting experiment.
But I don't know if they would do. I don't think they would do that.
Because then Blake wouldn't have to play extra physical and keep getting hurt.
Yeah.
Then he could just stand outside and
And I wouldn't know what the logistics of that would be.
That actually.
So maybe.
I think I would really like seeing him. He could just stand outside and play make.
Yeah. You want me to set that up in the trade machine?
Yeah, please.
Okay, I'll do some trade machine.
We gotta see the
stuff.
results of this one.
I'll involve Chris in it later.
Blake, Giannis, Drew Holiday. Yeah. I like that.
I think it'll be okay. The
I like
Bucks
that,
have
Joey.
that's actually a topic that I was going to point out.
I like the way you think, sir.
The Bucks have lost 4 straight games.
They
And
don't
now
have
the Nets
firepower.
the Nets have come back. They're actually the 2nd seed now. So the Nets have kind of sort of figured things out a little bit.
Before we move away from the Pistons, can we please talk about that Boston game?
Yeah.
And Sadiq Bey.
Sadiq Bey won
not
player of the
missing.
week because of this game.
He won player of the week.
Yeah. Him and
Like,
so Sadiq Bey's name was alongside, what was it, Devin Booker for the East, for the West player of the week, and Sadiq Bey. Devin Booker and Sadiq Bey. Put those names
Yeah.
together.
also, there's an extra level to it where I was like on Twitter during the game, especially the second half where he just wouldn't miss.
Mm-hmm.
And Celtics fans were so pissed because they took Aaron Nesmith at 14
Yeah.
instead of taking Sadiq Bey.
Yeah.
And
And to be honest, I was disappointed that we took Isaiah Stewart
Yeah.
instead of Nesmith. So like, I guess we ended up getting
Yeah.
the better end of the deal
And-
because we got Bey.
with Celtics fans, it was either we're letting a dude named Sadiq Bey give us 30, or it was the like smarter Celtics fans like we could have had this.
Yeah.
Nathan Nesmith isn't even playing,
Mm-hmm. Can you?
and they're not even playing really well right now.
I
It's
kind of want to
weird.
talk about the Celtics for a second, real quick. We're starting to get lower on time, but the Celtics, they accumulated all those draft picks, which are, I think they've run through them all at this point. They might have like 1 or 2 left now. They hit on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, of course, obviously.
Yeah,
They're really good.
monster hits.
But with Aaron Nesmith,
Pritchard is the one they're lucky
That's
with
true.
Peyton Pritchard.
Peyton Pritchard,
They are so lucky with him.
but they also drafted Romeo Langford.
Major miss.
That
Major
and
whiff.
I wanted the Pistons to take Romeo Langford, so dodged a bullet,
Big
I
time
guess.
whiff.
But they haven't done really good with their drafting. necessarily.
Honestly, free agency has been odd for them too,
Mm-hmm.
because once they lost Al Horford, they haven't been able to find a better option than him since.
Yeah,
And yeah, Daniel Tice is solid. He's a good 3-point shooter, but
Robert Williams. I thought Robert Williams would be better.
I thought he would slide in so easily.
Mm-hmm. Hasn't
But,
really seemed to.
Yeah, he hasn't taken like those big steps.
Mhm.
And well, you know what you're getting out of the Kardashian. We'll just leave it at that.
Stop.
You know what you're getting out of the Kardashian.
Ugh.
A few rebounds, some good defense, and some horrible looking offense that can lead to a few points. But you got to get better than that.
Yeah.
That's why I assume they'd be in this Andre Drummond sweepstakes. But what would they trade?
Yeah.
What would they give up?
Mm-hmm.
They don't have enough.
Yeah. I mean,
You don't give up Marcus Smart
yeah.
because it's clear that they need him.
And at that point, it would have to be that the Cavs think that they can turn around a Romeo Langford or something like that and make him into something more productive than he's been. Maybe package Langford and Robert Williams, like they're young pieces that we're talking about.
Please trade Semi Ojeleye. He had he had a career high 24 last week and he's still trash. Semi Ojeleye, please get him out of here, please.
Oh, man, that stinks. Okay. So there was a big game last week. Well, big in the NBA terms that you wouldn't really think of. The Jazz played the Sixers, top team in the West. The Jazz, like we talked about last week, kind of a surprise. And the top team in the East, the Sixers. Ben Simmons had a career high of 42 points, and they still lost. Ben Simmons actually scored a lot of points, and they lost. That's a concern. But Jordan Clarkson of the Jazz showing that he is
Sixth man of the year.
he just keeps developing. He scored 40 in this game and
Yeah.
upset them. Yeah, I think he's pretty much in the running for Sixth Man of the Year because Lou Williams is doing good, but he's not doing as good as he usually does. And Jordan Clarkson has just played incredibly.
That whole team's chemistry is just incredible.
Yeah, they're a team that you don't see all too often. One of those teams that kind of like any given night can be one of those guys filling in because Bojan Bogdanovic has struggled a little bit in some games. But like we said, Mike Conley's kind of come back, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, and then Jordan Clarkson has really, really given them a spark off the bench for if somebody's struggling that night, they can just slot him in. He can play 30 minutes a game.
Joe Ingles is still lights out.
Yeah, Joe Ingles will throw in some buckets. And yeah, they're just kind of a complete team, but they also play defense. And that's akin to Quinn Snyder, I think. And Quinn Snyder also in the running for Coach of the Year.
Once again.
Yeah, again.
Once again.
So the Jazz is really interesting. The Sixers, however, they are interesting.
They're still there.
But they just cannot get over these little humps.
Yeah.
And I don't get it. They're still in the top of the East.
Doc Rivers has made them a much better team.
Mm-hmm.
And the players they've added have made them better.
Yeah.
But like you said, they're still just, it's hard to describe.
Yeah.
There's something missing still.
Mm-hmm. It's like Ben Simmons has dominated some games. Joel Embiid has dominated some games. And it's just not necessarily translating.
Joel Embiid is playing like an MVP.
Yeah, he's played really good.
Him and Jokic are on MVP level right now. Ben Simmons still not taking that next level as a scorer will always be like something that holds them back.
Yeah. He just needs to be more aggressive. Like this game, he had 42 points, 12 assists, 9 rebounds, 15 to 26 from the field. Like, incredible. Now, I know in that game they didn't have Joel Embiid, so they're missing out on that. But Tobias Harris gave him 36.
That's the thing.
And 10 rebounds.
Just not having Joel Embiid shouldn't and they played the Jazz.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have a bit of an excuse.
Dwight Howard gave them 14 and 12. I didn't even notice that. The problem is their depth is terrible. Mike Scott gave them 6 points in 17 minutes. Danny Green 29 minutes, 3 points.
He is what happened to him?
I don't know.
What happened to Danny Green?
Seth Curry even didn't have a great night. He shot 5 of 10.
But
only
better.
1 of 4 from the 3. He had 11 points in that game. Dwight Howard was the best off the bench. Then there's Tyrese Maxey had 6. Matisse Thybulle had 5. Furkan Korkmaz had 0 in 21 minutes. So it's like they're not getting anything out of their other guys.
This is a lot of people were saying Philly should have been in the James Harden. They were in talks because there was a possibility they would have traded Ben Simmons.
Yeah, but they're in that boat where it's like kind of like we were talking about the Celtics. What do they give up, to get a James Harden? Like they don't have the picks. They don't have.
It's too late now.
No, I know.
The trade with the Ben Simmons thing looked like it was going to go through, and then it just fell apart apparently.
Yeah. So I don't know. And would James Harden really have gotten them over the hump? I don't know.
I
feel like they need more.
Him paired with Embiid would have been better to me.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think it's marginal, and they need just more weapons. Like they don't. Like Seth Curry has been great for them, but like we said, outside of that, it's like Tobias Harris has been kind of inconsistent.
They've had to rely on Tyrese Maxey like a lot in certain points, and I don't think that's not good.
Yeah,
you shouldn't have to rely on the late first round pick, and some of it was because of COVID, but other games there were times where guys just weren't getting anything going.
Yeah,
and he had to play more because he's another option on offense.
Right. Let's jump back to the other teams in the East that were struggling at the moment. So the Bucks have lost 4 straight, like we said. The Hawks have also lost 4 straight and have bounced out of the playoffs at the moment. Again, there's still a lot of time left, but that's a little bit concerning for both of those teams. Honestly,
there was news last week. They're looking to potentially trade John Collins.
Yeah,
because he hasn't been on board with Trae Young and his like erratic decision making sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's been kind of on and off.
Yeah, and John Collins feels like he wants to get the ball more. Feels like Trae Young is holding on to the ball for too long, things like that. So there's a little bit of turmoil there. And I'm pretty sure the Hawks are going to hold on to Trae Young, obviously, over John
Hawks,
Collins.
They haven't been fully healthy yet, so
yeah,
they still haven't been able to mesh as a team.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they've been without Bogdan Bogdanović since forever.
Danilo has been in and out.
Yep.
Rondo played a few games, and then Chris Dunn is coming back soon. What do you do with him?
Get rid of him. I can't believe he's in the NBA.
But they saw Jesus.
I'm telling you.
You don't like Chris Dunn that
Chris
much?
will back me up, I think, on that one.
Oh man, I didn't expect that take.
I don't.
Wow.
He's just one of those guys. It seems
the Chris
like
Dunn hate club.
Could never figure it out. I don't know. But
he didn't live up to the expectations. But
yeah,
I didn't expect that.
So I don't know. And I guess we have 10 minutes left. Let's bring this up because I wanted to bring this up on the podcast since we kind of talked about it already. My thinking was that if they are serious about giving up John Collins, the Pistons could make a move for John Collins, in my opinion. I don't know what it necessarily would look like because I don't think that they would necessarily want like a Blake Griffin. They might.
Yeah.
But
the Pistons, they don't have enough.
Yeah.
They just don't.
So my only thought was that it would be like we talked about earlier, Blake, another young piece, and then
I honestly want to stick with Jeremy Grant.
And then a future first or something. But don't you think we could slide Jeremy Grant to the 3?
Yeah. But this was another thing we brought up in text. I feel like that move would be I don't want this rebuild to be messed up like the last few. That would be speeding up process, even if it sped up progress a little bit more than usual. I do not want to speed this up.
Mm-hmm.
I want this to go at a regular pace of a rebuild.
Yeah.
No jumping for like John Collins is pretty much an all-star player.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to jump for all-star players right now.
Yeah.
I like how these young guys on the team are developing. I like that they can only beat really good teams,
right?
For some reason, which shows they play good basketball and they're very well coached. Which I've loved what Dwayne Casey has been doing with this team.
Mm-hmm.
He just lets those guys play their game, but he still makes sure they're together and everything. Yeah, and they play solid defense too.
Yeah, because I mean, I understand that too. My argument was that I don't think it would speed it up enough, and I get that's where you're saying that you don't want to speed it up even in the slightest. My just general thinking is that John Collins is still a young player, still developing, and then we pair him with Jeremy Grant. I know you don't get as much out of two big guys, but Jeremy Grant and John Collins are both like that new era mix where you could play John Collins at the 5 still and play Jeremy Grant at the 4 potentially. Then you throw Saddiq Bey there, and then if Killian figures it out, sure. And then we hope to get like Cade Cunningham.
I was about to say if Cade figures it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'd have to get like Cade Cunningham. And that team would be, I don't think they would be good yet. I think they would still have time to rebuild, but that could get some buzz for this team at least.
Did John get a new contract recently? That's one thing I forgot to bring up. I don't know if he got a new deal. If he did get a new deal, I think it was worth a lot.
Yeah, it probably was.
Like almost max. And do you want to throw that on with all the money the Pistons have spent?
Yeah,
that kind of limits moves being made.
Mm-hmm.
And also, once his contract is up, he's not coming back to Detroit. That's one thing. Like unless he's on a very brand new deal that's fresh.
Yeah,
and he just ends up in Detroit, and he stays on that deal and just sticks it out. I don't think there's a chance that he just stays with Detroit.
Yeah,
I don't think there's a positive in the end. If you get him.
Yeah, I'm seeing. Not really able to find it just yet.
So I have, it might be a fake memory, but I have somewhat of a memory of him getting a new contract last year, and them re-ing up on him.
He's got one more year left
on his rookie contract.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right. Signed a 4-year, $11 million contract with the Hawks. It was guaranteed.
So he didn't re-up.
Yeah. So he'll be a free agent he's a restricted free agent in 2021.
So even if he got traded to the Pistons, his contract is going to be up. He's not coming back. So that was another thing. I was like, what is his money situation? What is his contract situation? Because odds are he wouldn't stay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so. I get both arguments. I just figured we'd bring it up. He's rumored, I think, at the moment that the Celtics maybe would be interested, but who knows? All right, we got less than 5 minutes.
Haven't talked about the West. What's been going on?
What thing do you want to talk about the West? Pick one team. Pick one team.
Outside of the top teams, everybody's starting to talk about Utah now. Portland.
Okay. Yeah. The top teams.
Phoenix wasn't for. I wanted to talk about Phoenix, even though they lost to Brooklyn last night. It is what it is. Phoenix, Chris Paul has improved them. They're making those strides, getting better every day. But it's time
Wait, did they end up losing to the Nets?
Yeah.
Wow.
I fell asleep in the last 2 minutes and they lost.
Wow. I was going to say, because
yeah.
they were up. Oh, they were up 24.
Brooklyn started hitting every three in like the last 3 minutes.
I did the same thing. I thought the Suns just ran away with it.
I literally
Wow.
I woke up like a minute after it ended and saw the score and was confused.
Jeez.
But it's officially time for people to give Damian Lillard his flowers.
Yeah.
Like,
Without CJ McCollum, they have won, 5 in a row? Something like that?
Dame Lillard is one of the greatest players of this generation.
Yeah, they've won 5 in a row, 8 and 2 in their last 10.
Yeah, like think about that.
Without CJ
with this
McCollum.
team. Like Melo has raised his level of play back.
Mm-hmm.
Dang it, what's his name? The shooter.
Gary Trent.
Gary Trent is shooting the lights out.
He keeps getting better and better.
Cantor is back to like 12 and 12.
Yep.
Yeah, he's
Robert
a bucket
Covington
and
has had some games.
Even they play Nasir Little some, and he
Yep.
plays solid sometimes.
Derek Jones Jr.
Yeah,
Anthony Simons.
but this team shouldn't be playing as well as they are.
Yeah, I
And,
agree.
Like Dame Lillard just keeps hitting clutch shots every single week.
Yeah.
Like every 2 or 3 games. Last night against OKC, he hit a like bomb in the last 30 seconds.
Mhm.
It's starting to get like weird that people just do not talk about him.
Yeah.
Is it because of the small market Portland? People know Dame time. People see the commercials. People know who he is. But he is literally like, there aren't many players in this generation that can touch what he is as a player.
Yeah. I think it's like him and Steph, to be honest, as far as like shooters go.
But even just as like players,
Yeah.
there aren't many players that can touch him
Mm-hmm.
right now or like in the past 10 years. There's a list of like 5 or 6 guys that can really get on what Dame Lillard can do.
Yeah. And he's a smaller guard too.
6'3" maybe.
So, yeah, I think people definitely overlook. I mean, they overlook Portland every year, and every year Portland is there. And the scary thing is that CJ McCollum is still hurt, but he was having a career year before he got hurt. So if he comes back and, can do anything near that again.
Nurkic hurt too, yeah.
Nurkic is also hurt. That's one thing that Portland always struggles with, is they always seem to have some sort of injury that holds them back. But Damian Lillard at least carries them to a certain position where they can at least get into the playoffs, maybe make a run, do something. So they're definitely a fun team to watch and look out for.
One more team I want to bring up, Denver. Because Nikola Jokic is the only reason they're like pretty good right now.
Yeah,
and that's not good.
We've seen a lot of regression from the Nuggets. Michael Porter Jr. has shown some signs.
He's been like the second or third best player on the team.
Yeah, but he's been inconsistent as well. Jamal Murray is nowhere near what he
man.
was when we saw him in the bubble, which we knew that might happen. Again, we brought that up last week, but
He should be averaging 25, 26 a game.
he should at least be averaging 20 points a game.
It's like what?
What are his averages? I'm gonna look this up real quick.
To me,
And they're the 7th seed still, so they're
That's what I'm saying.
doing
They're,
well
they're
enough.
still a good team, but if Jokic wasn't playing at the insane level he's playing at,
Yeah.
where would they be right now?
Jamal Murray is averaging 18.8
Oh my god,
with 4 rebounds and 4 assists.
he should be embarrassed.
His
he really should be.
his player efficiency rating is 15, which is not very good.
Listen, who knew? Even though Denver fought hard to try to keep Jeremy Grant on board, they got thrown off that the Pistons offered him a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Who knew that losing Jeremy Grant and Torrey Craig would change that team entirely?
Yeah.
Like losing them as like their defensive anchors and guys that can hit threes too. It's messed up their whole mojo.
Yeah.
I don't know if they can get it back. And they won't play Bol Bol.
I was just about to say they don't play Bol. So, okay. I guess we'll have to get into some more NBA talk next week.
And some more NFL trade rumors and stuff.
Yeah, we'll try to keep up on some NFL stuff as everything progresses.
Nothing breaking yet.
Yeah, but nothing crazy. Free agency, I think, is starting.
JJ Watt is the biggest news right now. We got to get to that.
So we'll see some trade talk, and we'll get into some stuff. But it's been Views from the Sideline. I'm your host, Joey Tysick, my partner, Malik Hill. We'll see you guys next time.
Hashtag get Semi Ojeleye out of the NBA. He is terrible. He hit 7 threes in one game. Hooray. Who cares? He doesn't make that much of an impact. Come on, Brad Stevens.
But yet you care about Chris Dunn.